This is so cool reading the Haftarah, though. This is really cool because I
Well,
never
I'll
got
tell you
into it,
one
but
thing,
like
it helps us when we read the Torah portion. I really like
you
Yeah.
look at the parallels, like, because
yeah,
it's
the
always there's a
parallels. Yeah,
parallel, and that's
Right.
what's kind of cool because you can
it
relate it
is
right
cool.
there. But
Perfect.
should
Okie
we get
dokie.
started, or
Let's
Yes, we
get
shall get
started. Yeah.
started.
we might as well? All right. So who would like to read? Ruth, I know you usually do.
I just love reading, so it's good.
You
I'll
are
start.
the or you are the underground orator. I mean,
Orator.
I
Yes.
can't
Okay.
explain it, but
Yeah, who knows? King David was old, well advanced in years, and even though they covered him with bedclothes, he never felt warm. For this reason, his servants suggested that they seek out a young virgin for the king. That's so funny, to serve him to be his nurse. She would lie close to him and warm the king. So they searched all the territory of Israel for a beautiful girl, and they found Abishag, the Shunammite, and brought her to the king. The girl was exceedingly beautiful. She became the king's nurse and attended to him, but the king had no sexual knowledge of her. Very interesting. Now, Adonai, is that really Adonai? Or am I
uh,
supposed to say Adonai?
Vadononia. It's Vadadonia.
Oh, Adonai, yeah, son of
Vadonia.
Adoniah,
Hallelujah.
son of Haggith, exalted himself beyond the station, proclaiming, I will be king. He raised an escort of chariots, horsemen, and 50 men to run before him. He had been born after Absalom. Never in his life had his father rebuked him by asking him, why did you act in such a way? Also, he was very handsome. He met with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and Abathar, the priest, and they agreed to support him. But Zadok, the priest, Benana, son of Jehoiada, Nathan, the prophet, Shimei, friend of David, and the elite warriors did not side with Adonijah. Then Adonijah sacrificed sheep, oxen, and fatted calves at the stone of Zohelet near Ain Rogel. He invited all his brothers, the king's sons, and all the royal officials who were from Judah. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet, or Benana, or the elite warriors, or his brother Solomon. Nathan then went to see Solomon's mother, Bathsheba, and said to her, have you not heard that Adoniah, son of Haggith, is calling himself king, and David knows nothing about it? Now look, let me give you advice that will save your life and the life of your son Solomon. Go at once to King David and say, my Lord King, you did not swear to your servant, saying, your son Solomon will follow me as king and sit on my throne. Why then has Adoniah become king? And while you are standing there talking with the king, I will join you and confirm your words. So Bathsheba went to see the king in his bedroom. The king was very old, and Abishag, the Shunammite, was attending him. Bathsheba bowed low before the king, who said, what do you want? She answered him, my lord, you swore to me by the eternal your God that Solomon your son, your son will follow me as king. He will sit on my throne. And now look, Adoniah is acting as king, and you, my lord the king, do not even know it. He has sacrificed oxen, fatted calves, sheep, sheep, many of them, and invited all the king's sons and Abathar, the priest, and Joab, son of Zeruiah, the army's commander. But your servant Solomon he did not invite. Now, my lord king, the eyes of all Israel are upon you to see who will sit on your throne when you are gone. If you do not tell them, then as soon as you are lying down with your ancestors, my son Solomon and I will be treated as rebels. While she was still speaking with the king, Nathan the prophet arrived. The king was told that Nathan the prophet was there, and Nathan came in and bowed low before the king. Nathan said, my lord king, have you said that Adoniah should rule after you and sit on your throne? Today he has gone down and sacrificed many oxen, fatted calves, and sheep. He invited all the king's sons and the army officers and Abathar the priest. Right now they are eating and drinking and shouting, "Long live King Adoniah!" But as for your servant, as for me and Zodok the priest and Benaiah son of Jehoiada and your servant Solomon, us he did not invite. Could it be that my lord the king ordered this without telling your servant who will sit on the throne after you? This was King David's answer. Bring Bathsheba back. So she came back and stood before the king. David then took an oath, saying, "As the Eternal lives, who has rescued me from every distress, just as I once swore to you by the Eternal, the God of Israel, that your son Solomon would rule after me and sit on my throne, I will carry it out this very day." Oops, what happened? Okay, very day. Wait a minute. I will carry this out this very day. And then Bathsheba bowed low to the ground and paid homage to the king and said, "Let my lord King David live forever."
That's the end of it.
Wow. So okay, so what he just did is he just confirmed what they wanted him to say, and that was it.
Yeah, and part of it, I think the parallel too is like you have Abraham who was getting older and was
Yeah.
concerned about his descendants, like finding a wife for Isaac.
Yeah.
And now, you're finding, for the, I don't know, just there's certain similarities.
Okay,
like,
so but why did this whatever his name was, Adjaba, I don't know, I can't get that name for some reason. Why did he think he was the king though?
It was a weird time because that was another. David had many sons, and they were
Okay.
all fighting for the throne.
Okay. But
we were
he had
just talking
already
about that
promised
in
it to
church like
Solomon.
this summer,
He
right?
had
We were
promised it
talking,
to Solomon. Okay, so okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, church. We were
Solomon,
talking about that.
yeah, Absalom was one of the first to declare that he was going to be king, and he actually fought against his dad.
Uh-huh.
I mean, technically, his father they didn't come together in battle, but Absalom was fighting David's army to become the king, and then he eventually got killed. And then this is after Absalom, so this was another son, but David was pretty clear that he wanted Solomon,
Right.
which God wanted. God wanted Solomon.
And that was what everybody else expected, like what Bathsheba expected and all that. Yeah. So okay. So now we're going on to Chayei in the Torah.
Annie and Dr. Ed, how are you?
Oh, Dr. Ed's here.
Baby, Dr.
Hooray.
Ed,
I was
my
wondering if you
sweetie
were coming
pie.
tonight. Okay, good. And there's Annie. Hi, Annie.
My
She's
Miss
after
Annie's
for
sweetheart.
being
cat.
both spotted the oath.
Hi, Annie's cat. I
My-
forgot Annie's cat's name.
Simona, she's so
Simona.
sweet. Look at that
Oh,
baby.
My cat's sleeping right now,
Simona.
which is fine with me because he's been up a lot today. Okay.
Look at
So
her.
where
Hi,
are we
baby
now?
Simona. We're right here.
Okay. Now I will read a little bit longer and then I'll let somebody else read, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Sarah lived to be 127 years old. Such was the span of Sarah's life. Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham proceeded to mourn for Sarah and to bewail her. Then Abraham rose up from upon his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites, saying, "I am a foreigner living for a time among you. Sell me a gravesite among you, that I may bury my dead here." The Hittites answered Abraham, saying, "Hear us, my lord. You are a mighty prince in our midst. Bury your dead in any of our choicest graves. Not one of us will keep you from burying your dead by withholding a gravesite from you." Abraham then got up and bowed low to the people of the land of Hittites, pressing them, "If you really are willing to let me bury my dead here, listen to me and entreat Ephron, son of Zohar, for me, and let him sell me the cave of Machpelah. He owns it. It is the edge of this land. Let him sell it to me as an inalienable graveside in your midst at the market price." Ephron himself was sitting among the Hittites, and the hearing of all the Hittites and all the town leaders, Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham, saying, No, my lord, listen to me. I am giving you the field and the cave that is in it. I give to you in the sight of my people. I give it to you. Go ahead, bury your dead. Okay,
Sounds like Monty Python. Okay.
I know. But Abraham bowed low before the landowning citizens, and in their hearing he addressed Ephron the Hittite. Oh, if only you would listen to me, I will pay the field's price. Take it from me and let me bury my dead there. Ephron then made this reply to Abraham. My lord, hear me. Land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Go bury your dead. Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed out for Ephron the amount of silver he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, using weights standard among traders. So Ephron's land in Machpelah, looking out on Mamre, the field, its cave, and all the trees in the field within its boundaries, passed to Abraham by purchase in the sight of the Hittites and of all the town leaders. So can I ask you a question? Because I'm a little confused. First, somebody said you can have it. Why did he have to buy it if somebody already told him he could have had it without buying it?
It's part of establishing, I think, like that's part of establishing like your lifeline. Like he wanted to be able to say that he owned it, like so he could bury,
Okay,
Sarah
I
could be,
understand.
his,
Okay,
so
it's
his
a
progeny
property
could be
thing.
buried there.
It's like a
Right.
prop. Okay,
And the other thing I wanted to point out real quick, if I can,
please
is
do.
at the beginning, and Ruth, you might have heard this. Some of you might have heard this, and I don't know where. I don't remember where I read it or heard it. And Rabbi Kudan, I know, talked about it. When they talk about Sarah's age is 127, they say it like her years were 127, meaning that she had the wisdom of like 100 years old. She had the beauty of a 20-year-old, and she had like the innocence like of a child of 7 years old.
7. Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I think
I don't know if
did
you've
hear-
heard that.
I did think
Yeah.
I think I do remember Rabbi Kandan saying that. I know
Yeah.
I there's so much discussion about the ages and what it means in the Bible. I know Ed feels that scientifically it's a little different than what we think, but I always remembered that 120 years was for the right. If you were a righteous person, you should live to 120 years. Do you remember somebody saying that?
Do you remember
So
when God, remember, I forget exactly where in the Torah, when God said something to the effect that humans like can't go, like when people used to live for like 900 something years, and then
Yeah.
it said that like they'll only live for like 120.
Yeah.
I think I know it's somewhere in the Torah. I
Yeah,
don't remember
but that's
exactly
what I
where,
remember,
but
that righteous people would live to about 120. And that's why,
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. It was only a couple of weeks ago we read that. It was after
yeah,
Noah.
that was, that
I think it was
the
after
righteous-
Yeah.
Noah.
And
God
so,
said, I'm tired.
that's why they always say, I always hear, especially Orthodox Jews say, you should live to 120. That's what they always say.
Yeah,
Oh,
Abraham.
God, I
believe,
still got
was the
59
first.
years left. Oh, damn. Oh,
Well,
Well,
I
I
hear
live to
less, but
120.
Wow.
I should live a long time then, because I certainly am righteous.
of
That's
course,
it. Yes.
absolutely.
So even though I've got
Absolutely.
heart monitors on me and all kinds of things, I shouldn't worry.
No, don't
Yeah,
worry.
don't worry at all.
They say only the
Be
good die
happy.
young.
That's
So I'm
right.
in for the long haul.
Cynthia, do you want to take it?
Oh,
Start reading?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been reading enough.
Okay. I had both my eyes done, by the way, so I can see now.
All
Oh,
right.
wonderful.
Congrats.
Muzzle tov.
But Abraham bowed low before the landowner citizens, and in their hearing he addressed Ephron the Hittite. Oh, if only you would listen to me. I will pay the field's price and take it from me, and let me bury my dead there. Wait, did you read this already?
Yeah, I already read that. We're
Oh,
stat
I'm sorry.
16.
Where
Stat
were
16.
we?
16.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed out for Ephron the amount of silver he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, using weights, standard among traders.
I did
So
that too.
Ephron's land in Machpelah, looking out on Mamre, the field, its cave, and all the trees in the field within its boundaries, passed to Abraham by purchase in the sight of the Hittites and of all the town leaders. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah, facing Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Thus was confirmed Abraham's acquisition from the Hittites of the field and its cave as a fully owned grave site.
Okay.
Now, I believe this is the same gravesite that they bring Joseph's bones to when they come out of Egypt
Yes, that's
400
correct.
years later.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
so amazing.
Yeah.
And also, I know Rabbi Kudan talked about this too, that like throughout history, whenever Jews like would establish like, a community, like establish a Jewish community, like probably like the top priority, one of the first things was a cemetery. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
true.
there again, you could
A
see like that,
cemetery and a school. It was always a school and a cemetery. Yeah.
yeah.
A cheder. Yeah.
Shall I continue?
Yes, because we love how you read.
Aw. Abraham, by the way, this is dedicated to me. My name in Hebrew is Chayei. So I
Oh,
want you to
very
know
nice.
that-
Very nice.
So Abraham was old, well advanced in years, and the Eternal had blessed Abraham in every way. Abraham now said to his slave, the elder of his household, who had oversight of all that was his, "Put your hand under my thigh, so that I may have you swear by the Eternal, God of heaven and God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from among the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose midst I dwell. Rather, you shall go to my land, my birthplace, and get a wife for my son Isaac." The slave replied, "Suppose the woman does not care to follow me to this land. Should I then bring your son back to the land you came from?" Abraham then answered him, "Take great care not to bring my son back there. The eternal God of heaven, who took me from my father's house, from the land of my birth, who spoke to me and promised me, saying, 'To your descendants will I give this land,' will send a divine emissary before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman does not care to follow you, you are released from this oath of mine. Only..."
1 second. There we go.
Do not bring, okay. "Do not bring my son back there." The slave placed his hand under his master Abraham's thigh and swore to him concerning this matter. The slave then took 10 of his master's camels and, laden with an abundant store of his master's goods, got up and went to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nahor. He made the camels kneel down outside the city at the water well at eventide, at the time when the girls who draw water go forth. And he prayed, "Eternal One, God of my master Abraham, please bring me luck today and do a kindness for my master Abraham. Here I am standing at the water fount, and the daughters of the townspeople are going forth to draw water. The girl to whom I say, 'Tip your pitcher and let me drink,' and who replies, 'Drink and let me water your camels too.' Let her be the one you have designated for your servant Isaac. That is how I shall know that you have done a kindness for my master." Before he was done praying, Rebekah, who had been born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, wife of Abraham's brother Nahor, was going forth with her pitcher on her shoulder. She was an exceedingly beautiful girl of marriageable age, whom no man had yet known. She went down to the spring, filled her pitcher, and went up. The slave ran toward her and said, "Let me sip a little water from your pitcher." And she replied, "Drink, sir." Quickly she lowered her pitcher on her hand and let him drink. The drinking done, she said, "I will draw some for your camels too, till they are done drinking." Quickly she emptied her pitcher in the trough, and she again ran to the well to draw water, drawing water for all his camels. The man stood staring at her, silent, in order to learn whether or not the Eternal had cleared the way for him. When the camels were done drinking, the man took a gold nose ring, a half shekel in weight, and 2 bracelets for her wrists, 10 gold shekels in weight, and said, "Please tell me, whose daughter are you? Is there a place in your father's house for us to lodge?" She said to him, "I am Bethuel's daughter. He is the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor." And she added, We have straw and fodder in abundance, as well as room for lodging. The man kneeled and bowed down to the Eternal, saying, Blessed is the Eternal, God of my master Abraham, whose faithful kindness has not deserted my master. As for me, the Eternal led me straightway to my master's brother's house. The girl then ran and related these things to her mother's household. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and Laban ran outside to the men at the spring. When Laban saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's arm and heard his sister Rebekah say, This is what the man told me, he went to the man who was still standing by his camels at the spring. Come in, O blessed of the Eternal, said he. Why stand outside when I have cleared the house and also made space for the...
This is great. This is the first time we get to see Laban in action. He seems to have he really admires people with wealth, right?
camels. So he the man into the house, unsaddled the camels, and gave them straw and fodder, and brought water in to wash his feet and those of the men with him. But when food was put in front of him, the man said, I will not eat until I have had my say. He, Laban, said, Speak. I am the slave of Abraham, said he, and the Eternal has blessed my master exceedingly and made him rich, giving him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, male and female slaves, camels and donkeys. Sarah, my master's wife, bore him his son in her old age, and my master has given him everything he owns. My master adjured me, saying, You must not choose a wife for my son from among the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I now live. Go rather to my father's people, to my relations, and take a wife for my son. I said to my master, What if the woman will not follow me? He answered, The Eternal before whom I have walked will send an angel with you, who will clear the way for you. You will take a wife for my son from my clan, from my father's family. You will be free from your obligation only if you go to my relations and they refuse you. In that case, you will be free from your obligation. When I came to the well today, I prayed, Eternal One, God of my master Abraham, if you truly intend to clear the way on which I am going, here I am at the water fount. When a young woman comes out to get water, I will say to her, Please give me a drink of water from your pitcher. If she answers, Go ahead and drink, and I will draw water for your camels too. Let her be the one you have designated as the wife of my master's son. Before I had finished rehearsing my thought, Rebekah came with the water pitcher on her shoulder and went down to the well to get water. I said to her, Please give me a
I
drink.
believe Dr. Ed wants to say something. Dr. Ed, we
Yeah.
can barely hear you.
You can.
We can't hear you.
Is this any better?
It's a little better.
I don't know what's going on here. People
Now
don't
we can't hear you again. Okay.
people don't realize how important this passage is. Machpelah is in the West Bank, and as you heard, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah.
We can't hear you again.
Oh my God! I don't know why. I'm going to have to get up and get back. I'll thank you. I'll try again. I'll get up.
I'm sorry. I'd like to hear what you had to say, but
Try using your cell phone, Dr. Ed. Maybe if you got on your cell phone, we could
Let me
hear you.
Let me get. I'm going to get out there back.
Okay, so I think
Right.
Dr. Ed's left and he'll come back on.
okay.
I think he's getting toward the idea of like the cemetery, like for your descendants, like when they talk about in the Torah when you're gonna die, being gathered among your people.
Right.
It's nowadays, like you say, hey, where should we be buried? Like in those days, it was like there was no question, like for them, like. But I mean, that's why I think it was also so important for Abraham to be able to purchase it and just say it's mine.
Right.
You don't want to bury somebody there and then they say, all right, well, it's not, like he
Are
was
you
thinking-
gonna? Is she gonna continue or wait?
Yeah, should I continue reading or?
Let's see if Ed can get back on. Oh,
Yeah, should I continue reading then?
Dr. Ed's coming back in.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, we are now waiting. Dr. Ed, can you hear us?
Oh, he's still connecting?
Is he connected?
Yeah.
Maybe he. Are you back now, Dr. Ed?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, now we
Better,
can.
yeah.
Okay, let me just get back to where my notes were. Because this is very, I just want to make sure that everyone understands why this is such an important passage. And let me just get my spot where my notes are. Uh, up until the 6 Day War, the Mikhaila was, and I remember this as a kid. It was located in Hebron, which did not belong to Israel, and Jews would go there because this is the site. This is the most important site for the Jewish people. And they were only allowed to go to the seventh step, and it's called the Maharat Hakela. And they were not only allowed to go to the second step, seventh step to look in. And during the 6 Day War, it was extremely important that they capture that. Now we have all gone there. If you remember, Mike, we were there. We were there during our visit, and but it's really interesting. It's the burial place of,
I'm having trouble hearing, but okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you keep on going in and out. That's the problem.
Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Rebecca, and it is also my entrance.
Can't hear him, but maybe somebody else can hear him.
No, I don't know what's going on. Okay. So I don't know what to do here.
Yeah. I don't know what happened that this all of a sudden just happened because you were able to talk to us before.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know at all. I'm going to have to figure this out. But it's a really important place. It's the sixth most holiest place in Israel. So anyway, I'm sorry.
So
That's
did we
okay.
get it? Did we get it? Did the Jewish people get it back after the 7 Day War? Is that why
Yeah,
it's important? Because it was the burial place of the Hebrews, and before that, it didn't belong to the Jewish people. It belonged. Who did it belong to, Dr. Ed?
it belongs to
The Hittites.
What? Who did it belong to, Dr. Ed?
I'm sorry.
It's tough because it sounds like
I know.
the first
we
word
can't
comes out,
hear
then the
you.
next words
Unfortunately, we
don't drop
can't
out.
hear you.
Yeah, I can hear. I heard this most of the story. I turned it up very loud on my thing, and I could hear him speaking.
Maybe
But-
type it in the chat and we can read the chat.
Oh, that's a good idea.
What was that? Okay. I'm not hearing anything now.
Yeah, Dr. Ed's dropped out again. So where are we? Maybe we should just keep reading.
Yeah, let's continue reading and then we can come back to Ed.
Shall I continue, or
Sure.
shall I continue?
Yeah,
Shall I
we like
continue?
you reading unless you don't want to. Yeah.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
Happily, for some reason, you can hear me again.
Yeah, your computer sounds great.
Evidently,
you
this
sound-
thing is
you sound
contagious, and
terrific,
I gave
Cynthia.
it to.
Cynthia, you sound terrific. You sound
Ah, she quickly lowered her pitcher and said, "Drink. I will water your camels too." So I drank, and she gave water to the camels too. I asked her, "Whose daughter are you?" And she answered, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor and Milcah." Then I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. I knelt down in worship of the Eternal, and I praised the eternal God of my master Abraham, who had led me on the right path to get the daughter of my master's brother for his son. And now, if you mean to treat my master with faithful kindness, tell me. If not, tell me, and I will turn in another direction. Laban and Bethuel responded by saying, this matter has emanated from the Eternal. We cannot answer you one way or another. Look, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be your master's son's wife, as the Eternal has decreed. When Abraham's slave heard their words, he bowed low to the Eternal and brought out silver and gold objects and articles of clothing and gave them to Rebekah, and to her brother and mother he gave precious gifts. So he and the men with him ate and drank and stayed overnight. When they got up in the morning, he said, send me off to my master. Her brother and mother said, let the girl stay with us another few days, 10 perhaps, afterwards she may go. But he said to them, do not delay me now that the Eternal has cleared the way for me. Okay. Wait a second now. Can't find out where I am.
You said send away from me, and the next thing is send me off.
And send me off and let me go to my master. They answered, let us call the girl and see what she has to say. So they called Rebekah and asked her, will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. They then sent their sister Rebekah off with her nurse, with Abraham's slave, and with his men, bestowing this blessing upon Rebekah. Sister, may you become thousands of myriads. May your descendants take possession of the gates of their foes. Rebekah and her servant girls got up and mounted the camels and followed the man as the slave took Rebekah and went off. Now Isaac was coming from the approach to Beer-lahai-roi, for his living in the area of the Negev. For he was living in the area of the Negev. Going out toward evening to stroll in the field, Isaac looked up and saw camels coming. And Rebekah looked up, seeing Isaac, she got off the camel and said to the slave, who is this man striding in the field coming to meet us? He is my master, said the slave. Taking a veil, she covered herself. The slave then told Isaac all that he had done, and Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah. He took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus did Isaac take comfort after the death of his mother. Abraham went on and took a wife named Keturah. She bore to him Zimram, Jokshan, Madden, Midian, Ishbak, and Juah. Joksan begot Sheba and Dedan's sons were Ashurim, Letushim, and Lumim. Midian's sons were Ephah, Hanik, Abida, and Eldah. All these were Keturah's sons. Abraham gave all that he owned to Isaac, but to the sons of Abraham's concubines, Abraham gave gifts while he was still alive. He sent them away from Isaac eastward to the land of Kedem. These are the days of the years of Abraham's life. He lived 175 years. Abraham breathed his last and died in good old age, full of age, and was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, facing Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar and Hittite, the field that Abraham had brought from the Hittites. There Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried. After the death of Abraham, God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac lived near Beer-lahai-roi. This is the line of Ishmael, son of Abraham, born by Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's slave to Abraham. Here are the names of Ishmael's sons in their birth order. Ishmael's firstborn, Nebaioth, Kedar, Abdil, and Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, and Massa, Hadad, and Turba, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedma. These then are Ishmael's sons, and these are their names, by their villages and encampments, 12 princes by their tribes. And these are the years of Ishmael's life, 137. He then expired and died and was gathered to his people. They occupied the area from Havilah to Shur, which is near Egypt on the way to Asher. He settled in the presence of all of his kin.
You know, it's interesting that Ishmael lived to 137. I mean, much longer than, let's say Sarah, who only made it to 127.
And he and him and Isaac both kind of got together to bury to bury Abraham.
Yeah, interesting.
Dr. Ed, you want to try to talk a little bit more about that? The area there?
Can you get me? Can you hear me?
So I think we can.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll try this time. Oh,
We lost
Now-
Dr.
Oh, poor
Oh,
Dr.
so-
Ed.
Oh,
He's
now we
having,
lost him.
Then
Maybe
he's
if we
having
all mute when
troubles
he's trying to
tonight.
talk, it'll come through stronger.
Good idea. That's a good idea. I was going to ask a question though too. This whole reading is called "The Life of Sarah," right?
Right,
Isn't that true?
right.
And yet she's dead.
Yes.
Yet she's dead.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like they're looking back at her life, is what it's like, you know.
And
Right.
this is very special for Annie and me, right, baby? Yeah.
Why?
Rebecca.
Sure is.
Because Annie is Rebecca at the well.
Tell us the story.
The only difference is I didn't have I didn't use a slave to go find to find her. I had the encounter myself directly
I
without
heard
my
you used the
slaves.
Cuban woman.
I was going to use well, inadvertently. I didn't plan it that way, but it worked out that way. God bless her.
Alba's like,
That's
what?
it.
What?
Yep, that's right, Alba. Yep, my sweetie pie.
It's nice.
But here's the
You
thing.
didn't tell the story though.
Oh yeah, you got to tell the story. You were sick.
Oh, well, I was sick. I mean, the night that February 25th, 2019, the Zilba Beatles had a rehearsal. And I was suffering terribly from my asthma, and I had a bronchial infection. I didn't realize it, and I could barely breathe, but I went to rehearsal. And I don't know, Annie was she was just being I don't know, this. She was acting in a way that I was being treated in a way that I hadn't been treated since Bev was alive. It was kind of like a sign. So it's like when the slave there is talking about, if she brings water, and then if she asks me if I want water, and then if she asks if my camels, then I'll know that my master has been blessed, that she's the. So I just kind of had this revelation then, and then on February 28th, 3 nights later, Alba told Annie that I loved her, and which I did, but Alba got to tell her even before I did. So it's very special. So I always say, on February 28th, if Annie and I are going to do anything to celebrate, Alba should be there with us.
Oh, that's
That's
Yep.
so nice.
can
Yep.
What
you
a
hear
nice
me now?
story.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I figured out what was wrong. So,
Oh, you sound
what
good now.
Yeah, what I heard is the cave of the patriarchs, or the tomb of the patriarchs, before the 6-Day War in 1967, was in the hands of the Arabs, and they would only allow Jews to go to the 7th step of Machpelah. Now, I know this because it was a big deal when I went to religious school. And then in 1967 war, when the Israelis took to Hebron, what happened was they opened it up to everybody. It is not only the burial place of Abraham and Isaac.
We just lost you again.
Just when it
Really?
gets interesting.
Now you're back again. Okay.
Abraham and Isaac and all of the people, but by legend, it's the place of the opening of the Garden of Eden, and apparently the legend says that Adam and Eve are also buried in that series of caves. So
Oh.
it is considered the second most holiest place for the Jews in Israel. The first
Wow.
obvious being the Temple Mount, but the second most important place is this Machpelah, and it was a huge issue, and it continues to be a huge issue. And I know this because I've heard so much about this. This is one of the reasons that the Arabs living in Israel say, well, Abraham is buried there, and so is Isaac, and because they're important to also the Muslim world. and that gives credence to Israel saying that they were in that area well before the Arabs were, and it gives them credence to the state of Israel. So the Cave of the Patriarchs is much more than just a historical place. It's a real geopolitical representation. So it's a real big deal.
I hear you. Yeah.
And then one, and I can tell you one thing, that if I was single, I wouldn't date a 120-year-old woman. That's all I'm going to say.
Even if you were 155 or something.